As an introduction to contingent valuation, I recommend both an early criticism on the method by Diamond and Hausmann and a relatively recent literature review by Kling, Vanhoff and Tsao. This literature review highlighted that there were only about 50 studies that used the contingent valuation method until 1998, and that this number has risen to several thousand studies since the Oil Pollution Act decided that passive use could be included in formulating damages from the Exxon oil spill. Not long thereafter, the United States National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration established a high-profile panel that included Arrow and Soloff to discuss best practices for such contingent valuation studies. Kling et al. Review these best practices and prescribe the use of a referendum format, where participants can respond to a posted price for a policy, preferably expressed using a familiar payment mechanism, for example in terms of a tax increase. It is also advised to describe the policy under evaluation as specific as possible, possibly including photos, videos, or graphs comparing the status quo with the proposed policy intervention. The response to a single price also has some drawbacks. The binary outcome variable is less informative than what one could obtain using choice experiments or price lists. In either case, it is a good idea to pre-test the posted prices with the focus group and to include comprehension questions for checks during the experiment. Diamond and Hausmann point at some problems with the contingent valuation method. First, using studies that combined contingent valuation with verbal protocol analysis, that is, studies that asked participants to think out loud about the questions. This technique revealed that rather than thinking about how much they valued a certain species or natural area, most participants expressed a general concern for the environment or what they thought that participants should do. As a result, comparisons of the resulting willingness to pay from these contingent valuation studies sometimes make little sense. For example, willingness to pay is often hardly responsive to scope, with the willingness to pay for cleaning up one beach being nearly equal to that of cleaning up multiple beaches, including the single beach. Or a second problematic outcome has been that the valuation to save seals depended on whether the question was asked before or after a similar valuation question was asked about whales. Other problematic findings for the method are that the willingness to pay depends on the payment mechanism used and the source of the problem. However, whether you see something as a problematic feature of a method also depends on the theoretical framework from which you review its validity. That is, Diamond and Hausmann hold it against the contingent valuation method that the willingness to pay for a policy occurring is often not the same as the willingness to accept payment for this policy not occurring. However, from behavioral economics, we know this difference as the endowment effect. Kling et al. Are more favorable about the use of contingent valuation, where they reviewed the literature against different validity criteria. When the contingent valuation outcome is checked against outcomes of actual referenda and experiments with real stakes, meta-analyses do find evidence of overstating with a median bias of about 35% and an average bias overstating the value almost 3 times. Yet, the estimates correlate with those obtained using revealed preference methods, and contingent valuation also produces underestimates when they exclude explicitly the non-use values.